Will Smith runs up on stage during the Oscars and slaps the taste out of Chris Rock's mouth. I think Chris Rock handled it like a G. I think he was very professional, dog, because I don't know, me and Will would have probably been on stage squabbling, dog. Ain't no probably to it. I'd have whooped Will's ass.
Absolutely.
Him walking back to that seat like he was, y'all have saw me on his back firing on him.
Yeah, real shit.
After I got over the initial shock of being just slapped. Can you imagine? And my mama, shout out to Irene, my mom's down in GA doing her thing. My mom even called me, right? And she said, you know what? That wasn't a slap, son. That was a female dog slap. I said, so mom, you just said that Chris Rock got bitch slapped? Is that what you're saying, mama? So my 70-year-old mama said that Chris Rock got bitch slapped.
I don't think it was a bitch slap. Bitch slap is backhanded. That's what the backhand.
No, he got bitch slapped, dog. Anytime a nigga, I would have rather a nigga come up and steal on me, dog, than slap.
Yeah. It's always degrading and you know what I mean, emasculating when a nigga just slap you. Yeah, that's never cool. Yeah, somebody slap you like that, somebody gotta die.
Oh yeah, for sure, dog.
On the street level, for sure. Somebody slap you got to take their life to. That's justice. It's justice on the streets.
Yeah, as Glasses put it in proper context. Yeah, on the street, that's just how that goes.
That's justice, man.
That's how they go.
Not fire on me.
You can't even fade a nigga that walk up and just think he can slap you. Like you might like whoop him right in real time, but once you get finished whooping him, you might have to, you know what I'm saying? You might have to park.
You gotta really beat the shit out of him, like a lot.
I agree with Court, because you really got to kill that nigga, girl. You gotta kill him.
Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but you still there still?
Yeah, we still here.
Okay. But I mean, my take on it, bro, is I mean, it was a ignominious moment for the culture, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think the slap was about the slap, to be very honest with you. I think there's several backstories and undercurrents. I think what Will Smith was probably fighting against or slapping was the narrative. I think that, Jada has allowed the public, has introduced the public into their bedroom, into their affairs, into their relationship, and basically made him the poster child of emasculation. So I think that, that slap was really about the narrative. I think that's what it was. I think Chris Rock was collateral damage. I don't think it was about Chris Rock. I don't think it was about the joke. I think it was about the fact that for the past couple of years, Will Smith has been the butt of jokes, him and Jada. He's been the poster child, like I said, for emasculation. So I think that on that very night, in that moment, he was fighting against that. He was like, okay, y'all think that I'm a punk pussy bitch pushover, and y'all just gonna say whatever to me and whatever to my wife. And I think in that split second, that's what we witnessed. Now, I don't think it's a disreputable moment. I don't think it's something that he can't come back from. But, I think that, it was what it was. I don't think that we should make it bigger than what it is. It was two motherfuckers that know each other. Them people know each other personally. They go back. Their families know each other. I wouldn't have responded like that. You know what I mean? As much as I love my wife, I've done worse in behind disrespect to my old lady. But in that moment, see, I had an OG tell me years ago, you always offer a dude a way out. You know what I'm saying? So you give him a little space to try to make it right, walk it back before you just, you know what I'm saying, just crash out. But I probably would have pulled him to the side and had a conversation with him and got some understanding and some straightening. Now, if he didn't apologize, adequately with a heart of contrition, if he didn't, if he wasn't standing where I needed him to stand, then at that point, it would have did what it was going to do. You know what I mean? But I don't think the slap was about the joke. I don't think it was about Chris Rock. I think he was fighting that narrative.
I agree with you, because I was just telling Glasses before we got on this podcast. I was telling him, I think that it's a culmination of events that have taken place, like you said, over the last few years, and I think, him and Jada's bedroom antics, that has been made public. Obviously they are in some kind of relationship. They probably possibly have an open or swinging relationship, or whatever it is that they choose to do. in their bedroom is their business. But you have to know when you're a public figure like that, dog, you can expect people to have their opinion. You open yourself up kind of, like them millions and billions of dollars that Will Smith is making, they all come with a cost. Whenever you're making money like that and you give your life to the public, it comes with a cost. You have to expect some blowback on stuff. And I think that Will Smith has always been kind of looked at as the nice guy in hip hop.
Right.
And he probably said, you know what? I'm tired of people looking at me like a little bitch. And I'm going to show these motherfuckers, because that's not the first time Will Smith done stole on somebody in public. He popped some little white dude over in Europe at an interview. Some dude ran up and kissed him. And
I saw that.
Yeah, he stole on dude.
That was a little different though, OG. I mean, because dude tried to kiss him. It was a little tap. It wasn't like how he did with Chris Rock, But and he was probably well within his right to do that because dude invaded his personal space and tried to kiss him. You know what I mean? But I think but to your point, what you were saying, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're absolutely right. I think that Will Smith has always been, so obsequious with Hollywood and with, the establishment. He's always kind of been fawning for their approval. You know what I'm saying? And I think he set the standard of being the squeaky clean, nice guy, clean cut guy, always smiling, always kind of dancing. But, Will's still a man. He's still a human being. He's not infallible. So
that's the guy that's the most dangerous. The person that's the most dangerous dude is the guy on the edge. Because I think Chris Rock took a slap for everybody that has done Will Smith, that he feel like has disrespected him in any kind of way. I think that was his moment of like, I'm not putting up with this shit no more. And I'm gonna slap the shit out of a motherfucker. Because if you saw the initial response to that, like when the camera panned to him, he was laughing along with everybody else. But then once I saw his wife kind of make that look like this, I said, okay, it's about to go down now. Because his wife has let it be known that, hey, this dude disrespected me. Are you going to do something about it? Because she's the main one that has taken every chance. It seems like every opportunity that she has to speak about their relationship, she makes Will look kind of like he's the weaker vessel in the relationship.
Yeah, real shit. I mean, he should have been put his foot down or put his foot in her ass. I don't, whichever one you want to go with. But, Jada is definitely the precipitating factor for a lot of this BS. I mean, with a level of transparency, you have to understand you open yourself up to a bunch of bullshit, and the comments, social media, you have to think a lot of the commentary with them, for the past couple of years have become very, like vitriol, you know what I'm saying? Acrimonious and hateful, and people are still human, you know what I mean? At the end of the day. So, and then, Will got to deal with and modulate all them emotions about Tupac. She low key, she didn't already went on Red Table Talks talking about he ain't banging her right or something to that effect. Then, you notice she was in love with Tupac, and I think Will always wanted to be a badass, but he couldn't be that, or maybe, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you think about the whole premise of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He talks about it. He got his ass whooped, and his mom shipped him out of Philly out there to live with, Uncle Phil or whatever. So, like Will Smith, that's his moment of coming out and saying, I will no longer be the world's bitch. I'm sorry, motherfuckers, I'm slapping niggas.
But you know what? The thing about it, you don't get no brownie points for slapping Chris Rock. Chris Rock is almost a 60-year-old man, and he don't want no smoke. Because the thing about it, if it was me up there, if it was Glasses up there, if it was, The Rock, hell, if it was Cat Williams up there, I doubt he would have, swung on Cat. And somebody who gonna turn up and come back. Because you got to think of how casually he turned around and walked away. He knew it wasn't nothing coming.
I don't know. I think he would have did it to anybody.
You think so?
Yeah, but it's also like I'm a huge fan of Chris Rock. Chris Rock is an awesome dude. Huge fan of Will Smith since he was a Fresh Prince. But it's one thing to make a joke, right? Like, mind you, this has kind of been a running theme, right? Since the first Oscars with Chris Rock, where he had a lot of choice things to say about Jada and Will boycotting the Oscars. A lot of the people from the culture was boycotting the Oscars because obviously they felt they were mistreating Black people. And he had a lot of choice things to say, and I don't know if those things were ever, resolved. So it's one thing to say it when somebody's not in the audience. It's another thing to say it, you joke about my wife in a really sensitive place, in front of her. You feel me? And even the laugh you talking about, it was a condescending laugh, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a laugh, but you know what I mean? It wasn't a laugh like, oh, I thought this was funny, more or less. I'm just holding face. So I think we're starting to come into a world where we really start to believe that people should not be held accountable for what they say. Like, and that's my issue. Like, Chris Rock is a comedian, right? He's an all-time great, top 5 guy, especially in my era growing up.
Agreed. I agree.
But also, I think most comedians know you could be held accountable for what you say. And usually comedians and R&B singers are usually the most feisty people. You know what I mean? Because they're used to being confronted about the stuff they said. So for Chris to make that joke about that man while he's sitting in the front, to make it about his wife while they're sitting in the front row, you know, you gotta believe in your heart. It's only so many jokes you could tell about any man and their wife. Feel me? For you joke about my wife, we gonna have a problem. So it's like, if you joked about his wife, it just went the wrong way. And I think Chris Rock kind of, as much as people don't believe this, I think Chris Rock knew he was wrong.
But then let me touch on this a little bit too, Glasses. I mean, now we have to, you know, Chris Rock just recently came out and he divulged that he's on the spectrum. He has Asperger's. So, you know, Chris Rock, so with that, meaning that sometimes Chris Rock, you know, he struggles with social cues. Sometimes he can't read the room. That's why
call shenanigans on that, bro, because now in a society, we're in a place to where everybody has an excuse for their actions. Oh, I have Asperger's. He's this, he's that. He has this kind of.
Jerry Seinfeld has Asperger's. There's not a comedian that ever made $1 million that doesn't have a diagnosable psych issue.
Let me land on my point. Because I'm going to say something, right? With that being said, I think Chris Rock was doing his job of being a comedian. We all know, we all love comedy, right? You know, Peter is a comedian himself.
Yeah.
You go up on stage, if I sit in the front row with my wife, I got to kind of almost expect this dude to say something crazy. You just hope he don't go too far out of line, right? But this is my thing, man. Us as black men, I was just speaking on, you know, shout out to Black Effect, the network that we own, you know, Glass, shout out to Dolly and those guys. I had the opportunity last week to speak to a room full of people, of esteemed people in the podcasting world at Pod Movement. They're just now letting us start to speak at stuff like that. You know, I'm talking about black men, black people in general. We starting to finally get our place in this thing, right? With the Oscars, it's been a long time coming, man, that our artists, our actors, actresses get acknowledged for the great works that they were doing, because 20 years ago, they weren't getting acknowledged. Hell, 10 years ago, they weren't. It took us a long road to get to where we at, man. And I just wish that he would have handled it in a different way, because you know what they say in their mind. I'm going to tell you, Peter, I know you white, so you're probably privy to those white secret discussions that y'all have to the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the white only emails.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the conversation was this, like, damn, if Will Smith can't act right, just imagine if we had 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg here. You follow what I'm saying?
Nobody at the Oscars is saying.
And 50 Cent wouldn't have handled it like that.
That's what I'm saying. But listen, though. Listen. And my thing is this. I'm glad Will Smith didn't go to jail for this. I'm glad Chris Rock didn't press charges. But court, please believe, had that been myself, Glasses, or you walk up on stage and slap them, the LAPD would have drugged you out of there. They wouldn't have gave a damn about you being who you were. If you was nominated, you would have got drugged out. And the DA would have pressed charges on you. If Chris Rock would have declined to press charges, guess what? Well, we picking up this case. Court is going to jail.
Oh yeah, we be at the county or Wayside right now with no bond.
But I think, honestly, I think our community is being a little bit more ridiculous than, like, even when I see it on the news and the white folks talking about it, they understand. Like, Chris Rock was doing his job as a comedian and Will Smith was doing his job as a husband. Mm-hmm. Feel me? Again, sometimes, and again, at times, like, right, the life we live on this street life, right, is a bit primitive. It's pretty basic. It's basic, basic rules. So if you do something to me in front of everybody, I got to do it to you in front of everybody so you understand. Because you didn't make the joke in private. Exactly. In private, maybe I let it go. I'm like, man, hey, don't get at my wife like that. You done made this joke. You done turned my wife into a joke in front of all these people. And I'm gonna slap the shit out you. Now I'm not. See me, I would have stole on him, so I probably would have went in jail because I'm not slapping no another grown man. I'm gonna fire shit up. But again, it's one of those things where I don't care which stage we at, and we got to stop talking about them two dudes like they just two black people. These is multi-million-dollar men. I mean, they, even though they black, they is in another class of shit going on.
I think Will and Chris is closer to that billionaire status than what we think. I think they almost billionaire status.
I mean, I'm talking about actual cash. Fuck worth. I'm talking about they got money. So my point is, what I don't get is I hear a lot of men like, oh, she looked at him and he reacted. If you can't understand why a man would defend his wife's honor, like we are in a really different place in the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you thought for 2 seconds, feel me? Like if we go to a comedy show, right? And you gotta assess the risk, right? If you joke about certain people, you know what I mean? You got to assess that they might not think the joke is funny. And there is no vessel, whether hip hop or comedy or nowhere where you can just say what you want to say and not be held accountable for it.
Right.
It's just not a realistic expectation.
It's true. You're exactly right. We live in a society to where everyone wants these liberties and protections on certain stuff. I look at it like we all know my son is an athlete, right? My son being a high-profile athlete his whole life, I've had to stand by and look at certain reporters say stuff, certain reporters, you know, with certain opinions or whatever like that. And my thing is this, I don't mind someone stating an opinion or doing that, but when it becomes personal to where it feels like it's a personal attack on a kid or whoever it is, nobody has that right to do that. And I'm gonna tell you this may force some people to start thinking before they let whatever in their brain come out their mouth. They may have to start accessing that stuff in their head. Like, well, you know what? If I say this, man, I might fuck around and get slapped.
And I think,
but then again, OG, you have to figure, man, all of that is subjective too. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't walk on eggshells. We can't expect comedians to walk on eggshells because what's offensive to one person may not be offensive to the other. You know what I mean? So I think that's very personal. That is subjective. So.
And even but even at that point, right, Cord? Because it's like that's why we call comedians courageous. You know, that's why Dave Chappelle's last 3-4 podcasts, they've used the term brave and courageous because we understand you could be held accountable. Hell, you can't post what you want on Instagram no more, and that's your platform that you built on your own.
Right.
So again, like. The concept of freedom of speech means you can't be legally, and that's not real, right? Because we know about conspiracy. You can say anything, and they be like, well, you said it, so you're going to prison for just saying this. So even that concept, freedom of speech means you can't be, well, the theory of it is you can't be legally processed for, you can't legally be prosecuted for what you said.
Right.
But if you offend another human being, you know, you may have to be held accountable. Somebody may come to you and be like, hey, what does that mean? Or like in Chris' situation, I still love Chris and I still love Will. Feel me? I still look up to them brothers and all the entertainment they provide and their brilliantness. But, you know, both of them did their job. That's just how it goes sometimes. And as men, they can come together at some expensive restaurant and settle their differences. Maybe they can go in the backyard and line it up and they'll figure it out. But for us to be as a society looking crazy because a man defended his wife's honor, we are in a different motherfucking time. That man defended his wife's honor. This nigga insulted his wife multiple times at the Oscars. Multiple times, 1,000 jokes. And sometimes this shit may not be funny. I might not be. This might be okay.
It can go overboard. And G, how long you think we've known each other, bro? How many years you think me and you've been?
Over 20.
Over 20. All right. Yeah. You know me. If it's a joke, dog, I can take that. But when you get to joking about maybe a condition that my wife may have or something like that, all I know is my wife's feelings are hurt at that point. I am damn sure go react. If a person says something that hurts my wife, I think everybody on this panel is going to stand up and probably do the same thing that Chris Rock did. We may not do it at that time, but I would have definitely had a conversation with Chris.
Right.
Sure.
Especially because I know they got history.
Yeah,
They have
exactly.
they have a long history, and I think
and that's my point. Like, nobody knows the conversations they've been having over the time since the last Oscars. You feel me? When all the culture was boycotting the Oscars and Chris was there. You feel me? That again, the depth of it. But the reality is, I don't think neither one of them was wrong. Now, if I respect Chris, like I respect Chris for not prosecuting him. You know what I mean? He understand. I think genuinely Chris thought to himself, like, damn, I should have told that joke while that nigga was sitting there with his wife. I think he thought of that. I think that's kind of the thing that stopped him from reacting when he was like, fuck. Because it's some kind of confusion that Chris is some kind of punk, and that just ain't true. And Chris got a shitload of brothers, and them niggas is tripping. So you can't be no punk with a lot of brothers. The nigga had some scuffles. So I think, there's a place where, it's two weird things going on, right? It's a weird thing where we're trying to like classify this as the whole culture in a failure moment in front of white people. Literally, white people are at war in front of the whole world over nothing. Russia and Ukraine. And I don't think none of us like, well, look at how they making the white race look. I don't think none of us is saying that, right? And these are whole native countries of white folks. I mean, just white folk fighting over whatever, right?
Right.
We see Will Smith, we see multi-million-dollar actor Will Smith slap multi-million-dollar comedian Chris Rock, and we like, oh, look, they shaming the black folks. So that's just this silly, weird dynamic that's just stupid. Part two is the day we can shame a man for standing up for his wife's integrity.
Right.
Feel me? Like, what the fuck is going on in this world to where that's cool? We gonna shame this man for defending his wife. Now, if we don't agree with when he did it, cool. If we don't agree with how we did it, cool. But defending his wife's honor, bro, this nigga said a joke to his wife that hurt her feelings. And it was about something that was medically, not saying he even had knowledge. Nigga, if you talk about my wife weight, nigga, and she got cancer, I might slap the shit out you too. You didn't have to know, nigga. That's the point of, being okay with the joke you tell. You got to be okay and be willing to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with some of what you're saying. But like going back to like you say with Chris Rock, once I thought about it, a lot of people are trying to use it to, like manhood is a continuum. You know what I mean? So it's not predicated upon, the toxic masculinity of it because Chris Rock turned the other cheek. I don't think he a hoe. I don't think he did that. You know what I'm saying?
I think just like you, Court, I think he thought about it.
Yeah.
I think he thought about it, either thought I was wrong or this not the time and place, or kind of was more stunned. But again, I don't get whole ass nigga because of the stage. The stage makes it a challenge. And also, you got to think, right? The street rules only work when you poor, like it's a level of poverty and your reputation is choice. When you got millions of motherfucking dollars, but I almost don't give a fuck what you talking about.
Now with you saying that's the other side of it, because you got to understand Chris Rock got people that love him too. Everybody ain't rich like him that love him. Everybody don't have a lot to lose. Some of them motherfuckers will want to see Will. Some of them will crash out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Tony Rock, he's a comedian, but he ain't on Chris Rock's level. You know what I'm saying? And Tony might want smoke if he runs.
I think Will align Tony up. I think he can give him a fair one.
I think he would.
This is the confusion. I think nothing about Will Smith make me think he a punk. I think Will Smith
not at all.
Found a way to entertain him like us when I was a little kid. You know what I'm saying? And I think people help. Like I seen a thing where people was talking about Jada told Tupac to not. The homie from Outlaws, cool brother, from Jersey. He was saying, Jada told Napoleon said in the interview that Jada told Pac, don't beat up Will. I'm not sure he would have beat Will. Will is a big old strong Philly nigga. Man.
Like motherfuckers get that, niggas think that because listen, one thing about me is like I got a couple square homeboys. Everybody that I know ain't from the streets, right? And they just and I actually respect my square homeboys to stay in their lane more than I do the fake niggas that want to act like they really with that, but they not. You know what I'm 100%. Saying? So at the end of the day, man, like I said, I think that with Chris Rock, I commend him on keeping poised and modulating his feelings in that moment. I wouldn't have been able to do it. You know what I'm saying? God's
because we still too
God's still
close.
working on me.
Yeah, we
God's
still too close. But
on me.
also we still too close to holding like I call it like the inflated value of reputation. I mean, we still too close to where reputation is kind of a big
But
thing.
You know what? Maybe, but I don't know. Just in that split second, somebody putting their hands on me, I don't care where the stage is. You know, I could have $1 billion. I'm a responding kind. You know what I mean? And that's just innate. You know, so
I wouldn't. $1 billion. I don't know.
Yeah. If you got $1 billion,
I hope I wouldn't be doing the same shit Glasses Local would be doing with $1 billion.
But if you got $1 billion, you can afford to do whatever it is and respond however you want. Because at $1 billion, nobody is telling you anything. Nobody, you ain't got to answer to nobody.
Hey, fellas, real quick, we're gonna step off and take a quick break, dog, for sponsors. Right now, pay some bills real quick. And when we return, we will continue our discussion about the slap heard around the world. Gangsta Chronicles, we'll be right back. All right, in the previous period, we were talking about this whole thing with Will Smith and Chris Rock and the slap, right?
Yep.
Now, the one thing that we have to consider, right? And I know, Glasses, you said that everything can't be about race all the time, but the condition that she suffers from, what is it called? Alopecia? Alopecia, all right? Alopecia almost exclusively affects Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So someone that asked the question was, well, maybe Chris Rock didn't write that joke.
You had enough heart to say it, nigga.
You know, he had enough heart to say it. And I think Black women in particular, dude, they always get looked at like they're going to be okay. They can survive it. They're tough. If I'm going to tell you this right now, had that been a Jewish
Pete
person,
looking at you like you crazy as a motherfucker.
No, listen.
Go on, Pete. Tell me what you think, Pete. Go on, give us the white man's opinion.
Are you going to tell me you think a third-party writer was going to predict in advance what a Black woman was going to do with her hair at an award show?
Well, no, I'm saying what somebody else said. I heard somebody. I heard somebody mention that somebody else may have wrote the joke, but I said the same thing you said, Peter.
They would have had to written it in advance. You know she's not going to wear a wig or do something whatever the fuck with her hair.
Yeah, exactly. For real. But how do you say that shit again?
Alopecia.
You know.
OG, you might have alopecia.
Yeah.
Man, I do. That's crazy. I'm a dude though, so it's like I can cut this shit off, you know. But the thing is, though, bro, it's like this. Like I was remember. Do you remember when Lisa Leslie got pushed down?
No. What happened to her?
It was during a basketball game and the bench is cleared, and the coach, I forget the guy's name. He used to actually play in the NBA and everything. He kind of shoved her a little bit, and she like got slid across the floor, like he was just trying to break up the fight. He didn't do it on purpose, though.
Oh, he didn't push her. He said, okay.
Kind of
I was like, push Lisa Leslie.
Trying to kind of frame that right, but. I noticed nobody talked about that, dog. It's a whole bunch of stuff, man, that sisters go through. And nobody is ever there to protect them. So,
but I think it wasn't about the joke, though. I stand on that. I believe that it was not about the joke. It was about the narrative. I've seen D-Ray Davis say some super disrespectful shit in the crowd, on the stage, I should say, to the crowd. You know what I mean? And even in reference to a person's, like, it's this little bit that I would see him do. I don't know if he still does it, where basically, he basically clowned on the dude if the dude's girl stood up, like he said. It was a bit that he did, but and nobody got mad. So I think you have to understand context too. So I think comedians.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
I don't know, but D-Ray has been D-Ray has been in skirmishes though. Over jokes.
D-Ray says shit. I can't believe people don't.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that.
Yeah, D-Ray been in some shit. Cat been in some shit. Like,
yeah.
But Cat does it himself.
But I'm saying,
Cat he initiates it.
No, but I think that's not fair because I still don't believe. I think Cat.
No, Cat comes off the stage.
That's per Red Grant. That's per Red.
I don't even agree with Red with that. Like,
I
think Cat gets a hard time because Cat is a bit. People do fuck with Cat. People do fuck me too. People do fuck with Cat. People kind of people pick with Cat. I'm not with y'all. People fuck with Cat. People be looking at Cat.
A situation with Cat. I've actually had a real life situation with Cat.
Yeah, people fuck with Cat, man. They see Cat and be like, man.
Well, Cat is actually one of the.
Cat will go though. That's the thing about it. Cat will go.
And that's my point where we look at him crazy because he a GOAT. But that's what I think of all comedians. I don't think there's not one comedian. I think Jim Carrey would throw hands because he understands, you know, people may get offended. I think that's what make the comedian job
Jim Carrey doesn't have Asperger's?
Sure he do. Sure.
I'm positive he do.
He might have a lot more than that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this. We all know that's why we love our comedians, right? Because they may say something off the cuff.
For sure.
It's funny. We all sit up and kiki and laugh, but it's not so funny when the joke is on you. When you the one being up there ridiculed,
I'm being roasted.
It ain't so funny because I'm gonna tell you this. Me and my wife went to this comedy thing one time, man, and you know, for people that know, my wife is Mexican, so we sitting up in the front row. I'm sitting up there smiling. I'm looking good.
Number one.
Good.
Yeah,
and I'm laughing. He goes in on this people like a few chairs down from me. And I'm up there laughing.
You was kicking
and ha, and then he said, "What's your big head ass laughing at? Your water head ass." Everybody them real look at me and start laughing. And he said, and so I'm like this, and then he said, "What you laughing for with them big ass teeth?" He said, "Okay, hold on. So you black and you Mexican, you guys have kids?" "Yeah, we got children." "Yeah, you know, we laughing and stuff, trying to be good sports." He said, "Wow, y'all got the ultimate thief. They fast." He said something like, he said they thieves that can run fast. And I was like, damn, that's fucked up. You know what I mean? So he was pretty much up there clowning, dog. And so I started feeling some kind of way, dog.
Of course you did.
And I left like 5 minutes later because I really wanted to
did.
jump on stage and just think it wasn't the distance. Will had to take a little walk.
Yeah.
And once that walk he had to take, once he got up, it wasn't no return down because you gonna look like the biggest bitch in the world if you get up to go run up on stage and you gotta take that walk and just turn around. They gonna say, "Okay, Will thought about it." You know what I mean? But I was right there, like maybe 2 feet from this dude, and it took all I had not to just sweep his legs or something, jump up on stage and just knock his ass out. Because when everybody, the whole room is laughing at you, and you look and see your wife laughing at you, you kind of just like, damn, this motherfucker really disrespecting me now.
But then, OG, you got to understand, like, if you going to go see DL Hughley, you know, D-Ray, you got to know what you're dealing with. You understand context and you understand what you going, you know what I mean? Like, I got fired up by, I got fired up by Chris Spencer. Chris Spencer fired my ass up. And on top of that, I was sitting in the front and I was late. So I come in, and of course, as soon as he seen me, he just started going in. I got all the steroid jokes, all the jail jokes. I got everything, you know what I'm saying? But I understood who I was coming to see, and I understood I was sitting in the front. So I think, you know, if you're sensitive, I think just people in general, if you're sensitive and you don't want to be the butt of the jokes, and again, you know, contingent upon who you're coming to see, shit, sit your ass in the back where they can't see you.
Yeah. Also, like I said, I've seen D-Ray, and D-Ray is my guy, solid dude. You know, met him a couple times, fuck with him, cool dude. But shit, D-Ray be saying, shit, D-Ray, and I know D-Ray got hands, so he gonna have to have some squabbles because some of this shit just be too far. This shit just, and that's my point. I guess that's the point.
He don't even try to be funny. He just try to make it personal.
Man,
If D-Ray feels like you offended, if D-Ray feels like you offended,
really
that's gonna make him lean into it more. That's gonna make him fuck with you even more.
So I do think, you know, that's part of the courageousness of being a comic, like a hip hop artist. It's courageous because you're supposed to, you know, like you're supposed to take uncharted journeys. You know what I'm saying? Uncharted discussions, and you bring them public. You know what I'm saying? Places that the culture has never been, and you bring them public. You bring them out for everybody to see, but everybody don't have to like it. Like,
but glasses, we can argue that roasting somebody and making comedy and commentary is two different things. You know what I'm saying?
But I agree totally, right? But I'm saying we're talking about somebody roasting somebody,
right?
Like Chris Rock, that was the beginning of a roast. You know what I'm saying? That was
right.
Even when Will was walking up, he's like, "Oh, there go King Richard."
Yeah.
This nigga's a man.
Yeah, and then he
I get it because I didn't think he thought it was gonna go that far. I don't think for 2 minutes he thought it was gonna go that far.
Nah, because you know he had his hands behind his back and he leaned his face out.
I
think he
thought he maybe was gonna whisper something to him or do a funny push or something, and this shit went left quick. So that's my point. Like I'm not saying just like if a transgender person walked up and wanted Dave Chappelle fade, shouldn't nobody be surprised?
Right.
A transgender, you know, because they have been the brunt of his joke. Somebody could really be offended, and I get it, right? There's a legal asset that has to be held, which we don't have shit to do with because we ain't the police. But from a regular level of human beings, we should understand that at times, you know, some of these roasts could go, you know, to a place
I get it in real life. In real life, I get it. But again, people gotta understand context. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Bosco with 100 was having this conversation, and I was telling him the same thing. I was like, you know, I was kind of telling him, bro, you should lean into, you know, the culture of social media and content creators. I was like, because it's tricky when you're dealing with street guys. You know what I mean? We have a different understanding, you know, when it comes to sense of humor and roasting and different things like that. But it's not that serious when you understand the form that it's said in, you know, and the context of which it's said. So if you roasting somebody and it's the social media thing and y'all going back and forth, that don't mean that, you know, it needs to result to violence or, you know, anything like that. I think sometimes people just got to relax, you know, because it's coming from a comedian. It's not coming from, you know, someone that's, you know, you're trying to get hired on from a job or something like that. It can't even be personal because they don't know you personally. So how can you take it personal?
Now, let me ask y'all this. Did that go too far?
Oh yeah. That was just that was just a whole bunch of ignorant shit. It went too far on both parts. You know what I mean? Once you start, you know, heckling the person with the mic, for one, you have to know that they have the mic. You know what I'm saying? But the comedian, he definitely went way overboard. He made it personal. He definitely made it personal.
Now, did he really go overboard? Because he's up there trying to perform a job, and you got a woman that's been heckling the crowd all night.
That's where you got security, though. That's where if somebody is disturbing the show, you have security remove them, or you have the people, you know, at the event make her be quiet or remove them. He made it personal because he doing his job, but he still got to lead. You know what I'm saying? You still got to step out that spot and lead. You know, so yeah, but it was bad all the way around. All them folks ignorant. I know somebody died that night, huh?
I don't know. You know what? Probably not, but that was the most niggerish of the nigger shit I don't ever seen.
Real shit. You know,
and he went way too far. I wouldn't have made one joke. I'd have just waited in the park. I wouldn't have heckled him. I wouldn't have said no. He'd have said that one joke. I'd have waited in the parking lot for him, terrorized him.
That's what I'm saying.
He wouldn't even know what happened. That man, he probably would have really been in a bad place fucking with me that night because he kind of took. To me, it's one thing and being funny, but it's a point that you can go to where it ain't funny no more.
Yeah, it's hateful and it's vitriol. It's mean. Yeah.
And I can't hear the audience. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gonna just do him like that, Corey. Like I don't know what was being said to homie on the stage. So, but I mean, man, you know what I mean? But that's why I say like the freedom of speech thing is more of a legal thing, right? That means you not supposed to be prosecuted for what you say, right? I mean, we know that shit ain't no good, obviously. Again, back to conspiracy, right? But that's the theory of it. Outside of that, everything you say, you could be held accountable. So, you know what I mean? That's why I watch what I say. I'm really choice with what I say to other human beings. Like I'd never call another man a bitch. I'm gonna just
real talk
fuck them up. You know what I mean? Because
and I think, you know, one thing that I kind of live by, and it may be extreme, but again, you understand glasses, and I'm sure you do too, Steele. Coming from, and you know, Peter, I don't know your background, but you know, coming from my environment, you understand that like once you make up in your mind that you're gonna say anything disrespectful to a man, no matter how egregious, you really have to make up in your mind that you're either willing to die or kill about that, because it can go that far. You know how many times in the hood where niggas have been playing the dozens, you know, even Willie D said it. What was the song he had, homie, don't play that? Stop heating up your homeboy's grill, because that's how niggas get killed. Niggas like to joke when you're serious, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, at the end of the day, if you're not willing to die about that or kill about that, then just leave people alone, you know, because
my point is,
it can go.
And it's funny because you brought up Bosco, right? And that's a nigga I fuck with, you know, I'm
Mhm.
proud of. I feel like I know where he came from. I know he changed his life and found a space. But it be when he heat niggas up, niggas really want to fight him.
Yeah.
So
Right.
again, it's that's why I don't really disrespect other men. Like if in my mind I want to disrespect you, I'm gonna just go to the final level. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna just go because that way we got a real problem.
Right.
If I disrespect you, like, I'm not finna call your names over the phone. I'm not gonna call your names in person. We're not gonna get into no shouting matches of disrespect. At that point, I need to just show you exactly what I think of you. You feel
But
me?
then
So
let's peel that back though, Glasses. I mean, think about that though. That is something that we're taught and that we have kind of inherited from our environment. But think about that though. I don't know that that's necessarily a normal thing that we should be like that. Because think about it, as Black people, especially, you know, we deal with each other so heavy-handedly to the point that damn, we can't even joke with each other. You know, because I watch a lot of these content creators like Bosco and so forth. Like even having Bosco and Crip Mac on my show, you know, I tried to be mindful and cognizant not to feed into the bullshit, even though they're opposing influencers. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be real careful. And like I was telling Bosco, I said, man, you know, it's cool that I think you're creating the culture of where it's okay to joke. It's okay to have a sense of humor. Yeah, I'm firing your ass up, but I don't want to kill you. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do nothing to you. It's all entertainment. You know, so I think if you know, again, people have to come back to context. You know, the shit ain't that serious. Like, again, it's one thing for somebody that you don't know just walking down the street and they start disrespecting you. But it's another thing, you know, if you're in a comedy show or you're dealing with someone who that's their brand or that's what they do, that's their shtick or whatever, and they lock in on you. I mean, you can remove yourself at that point, you know. I don't think it has to be so, you know, extreme.
Well,
yeah, I guess I agree to some. Personally, me, like I said, I feel like some people are blessed with wit.
Yep.
And some people aren't, and people tend to take advantage of it and will bully other people with wit, right? And then say, you know, they will assault you with intellect. Pete does it. You know what I mean? He tries his best not to, but Pete will insult you with intellect.
Peter, I've seen you eviscerate people.
When?
I've seen
Very,
you do
very
it.
Pete, no, I'm just joking because Pete really he can disarm people with his wit. So, but I've seen people who are really witty, right? Like really intelligent, and they bully people mentally with the things they say. And then somebody else's prized possession may be their physical demeanor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's why I say, like, it's a thin line, and you just gotta be careful with how you handle people in general, even on all facets of life.
Right.
And like I said, I genuinely believe in none of the arts. You know what I mean? Is it okay to disrespect or insult people? You know what I mean? Like, and if you do, you kind of got to be ready for, you know, like we say, we just was saying it, like you learn, like, let me watch what because there's certain niggas, you know, when you grow up with these niggas, you like, if you joke with this nigga, you're going to be in a fight.
Yeah. He don't take it serious. He don't have a
you know what I mean? Because you know how they are, and there's nothing wrong with them. That's just how they feel about the jokes. You know, they not like that. And so
Ice-T had the perfect description. It's freedom of speech to just watch what you say.
Right. Because you get judged in the court of public opinion. And now we have cancel culture, you know, which I hate. I hate cancel culture because, you know, it sets this standard. Like society wants to hold people to a standard that they can't hold themselves to. That's why I tell you what,
cancel culture is just an idea because all that is a group of niggas, a small group of niggas that think they big.
Group of women.
A group of people that think they so big, you just cancel it in your own mind because I've yet to see that be effective because I see people, we canceling this culture. If I still want to watch that show, I'm going to watch it. I don't give a fuck what they said or nobody else said. I'm still, you know.
Yeah, but you watching reruns.
What I mean, yeah, that's what I mean by cancel culture. Like now they talk about Will Smith, Bad Boys 4, all of a sudden they want to halt it. Then it was something else. That's ridiculous because it's unrealistic. We're all, none of us are infallible. None of us are perfect.
Especially for a man defending his wife. Like
I don't care. Listen, I don't care if he got a DUI. I don't care if he just punched him just because whatever. He stepped on his shoe. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? The people that are pushing his project back and making these decisions, let's look into their life. Let's look into their shit. You see what I'm saying? And see what their transgressions are. That's the part of cancel culture I don't like. It's because they start to create this unrealistic measure of perfection that doesn't exist for any of us. For any of us, all of us.
But that's also why you got to just be the raw nigga you are.
And this is why I said Will Smith did himself a disservice from way back 30 years ago by painting the picture of being this squeaky clean, acquiescing to everybody and all of that shit, to where now him being a man or just being a regular person and responding like a regular person is like, oh my God, Will is not smiling.
But if Will didn't do that, he would never have been in the front row to begin with.
I agree, but
Peter, what'd you say?
I said if Will didn't acquiesce to all that, he would never have been in the building to begin with.
But that's why it's also dope. It ain't always worth being in the front row.
Right.
Yeah, because I agree with Court. Like, cancel culture is a real thing, and I've conceded certain things, right? Because I will never be what other people want me to be. I'm just going to be who I remember going on the Breakfast Club and Angela Lee asked me, would you hit a woman? Hell yeah, it's a reason to hit anybody. What'd she do to me? And she just thought that was so phenomenal. I'm like,
the opinions of our guests on Gangster Chronicles the opinions of our guests don't reflect the views of the host, iHeart Media, or any other entities. Glasses continue.
Listen, I get it. We live in a space to where people are scared to say what they think. I refuse to live in that space, and if it keeps me at the front row at the Oscars, I'm fine. Fuck the Oscars.
And listen, I agree with you, Glasses. I agree with you, bro. I understand. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, she asked me, she's like, yeah, because if you say that, I was like, I don't care. You ask me a question, I'm giving you an honest answer.
Right.
Like, what has she done to me? What exactly did she do to me so I can figure out exactly what I would do? And I remember doing a Brilliant Idiots, and I was having a conversation with Charlamagne and Drew, and they was like, yeah, Glasses, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm transphobic. Oh, you can't say that? Why can't I have a genuine fear of trans people? But people gonna think you hate somebody. I can't cater to everybody's ignorance.
Well, we gonna have Flame come on your show. You know that, right? Flame Monroe.
For sure. I'm not mad. That don't mean I'm not gonna be scared. But Flame is a cross-dresser. That's different.
Yeah, it is. And
Flame is not trying to convince you that she's anything outside of Flame. There are people in this world that were born males that want me to see them as women. That scares me.
All right, I think we should move to the next topic right now.
I think we should stay.
Hey,
you guys,
like, you see what I'm saying, Court? Court, you see what I'm saying? Like, no, I didn't even say nothing bad.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but
I'm not saying nothing bad.
I despise cancel culture, but at the same time, I understand that with social media, right? Because everybody is sheep, and it all comes back to, when in doubt, come back to the money. And that's all it comes back to, right? So what happens is, if you say something that goes against the norm, goes against the, the fake puritanical notions of the mainstream media and all of that, then it hurts sponsorship. It hurts dollars. That's why they really back up from it, because of public opinion. You know what I mean? And social media is a gift and a curse in that sense, because people are sheep. All it takes is for the tide to turn. Like record companies say. They say all the time, the war is won in the comments. Record companies got they got a whole team of people that sit up with a bunch of different accounts to, when something's bad out there, they got a bunch of people with accounts to go in there and sway the tide and sway the narrative. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. But I'm with you, bro. I understand etiquette, and I understand tact, and I understand couth and time and place. But we should still be able to be true to who we are and say what we feel. And it's not always, everybody's not going to think the same. Everybody's not going to agree. We can agree to disagree respectfully.
I have a revelation, guys. We're living in an era where people do not like the truth. If you tell the truth, you can be looked at as a pariah almost. You almost looked at as a pariah. If you're a guy to tell the truth, if I go outside today and my neighbor says, hey, Mr. Steele, how are you doing? And I say, you know what, your breath is horrible. You should go brush your teeth. It may be true. She's going to go back in the house and say, you know what, the guy down there is an asshole. He was
so rude to me.
He was being rude. No, I wasn't being rude. I was telling you that you have bad breath.
And that's why I refuse to conform to societal norm at that point. Like if we can't be honest, like I can see if I was just speaking off ignorance, emotions.
Right.
These are literal thoughts that have been processed out, and people. The thing is, because people refuse to use, they're so intellectually lazy to entertain the conversation. It's like, well, no, this is what I have to think because society says I have to think this. It's easier.
Right.
And I'm not subscribing. Feel me? Like I canceled my subscription today. I'm cool.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
So before we because I see we're running out of time. California,
is the time limit?
Oh no, it's not a time limit, but I want to get this off. I want to really have some. I really want to have some dialogue about this. California is the first state to start proceedings on offering us as a people reparations. Now they have a task force that they've established, and I guess they established this task force in June of 2021. The state of California initiated a reparations task force to consider questions of compensation for the descendants of the victims of chattel slavery. The task force is to report to the state legislature in June of 2023 to make recommendations. So now I'm seeing that this is going out to 2023. This is probably money we'll never get, bro, because
first off, it's a consideration to possibly think about considering the thought of like that shit was all a bunch of nothing, sir. You gotta love white folks, boy. White folks got some cult. I don't know. Y'all do things
let me finish,
with
G.
English language.
Listen to this though, bro. It is significant that the demand finds its home in California of all states. The demand for reparations has been consistently rejected at the national level, but its proponents have found support here. In the antebellum, California deported runaway slaves back to the South, but it nonetheless remained a free state. Its government opposed the expansion of slavery into the state and supported the Union in the Civil War. When the reparations task force was kicked off in mid-2021, California Secretary of State Shirley Weber asked, why in California? Why not somewhere else? Why did we not do it in the South? If not us, then who? But see, what they're saying, the motion passed 5-4. The stated the eligibility will be determined by an individual being an African-American descent of a chattel enslaved person or the descendant of a free Black person living in the U.S. prior to the end of the 19th century. This criteria excludes Black African immigrants, of which there are more than 300,000 in California. So they're saying that you have to be able to go back and prove your lineage. You have to be able to say, okay, I had a grandmother that was living in Mississippi during the 1800s, during this time. A lot of people may not have those resources to do that.
That's why we need to start.
Do that, though? How do you
that's
even?
Why we need. That's why we need to be prepared. Forgive me for being, Peter, a capitalist in that regards, right? We need to focus right now and create a corporation in California where we put together a way to help people trace their lineage back in exchange for 20% of their reparations.
That's what I was telling Court before we came on, because I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen with this, G.
Boy, we be up.
I'm gonna tell
Cadillacs everywhere.
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen, bro. Just like you have people, you remember when they established certain benefits for people that were wrongly incarcerated for marijuana, and they came out and said, we're gonna help you be able to legally do that. They get, special licensing considerations and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You saw a deluge of businesses popped up just designed to get in on that to say, okay, we're going to help you. But now you get these guys coming out of prison, they're pretty much working for somebody now. Yeah. They don't have their own business. They're using them because they get the benefits. I can see some white corporation being spawned. We're going to help the Black people get what they want, and we're going to get them at our cost. They're going to get 15% of the total sum, but we're going to collect the rest. I'm going to tell you, bro, a lot of people are not going to have the resources to be able to go back and prove that their great-great-great-great-grandmother was a slave.
Hence, once all three of us brothers.
That's why I think that's the loophole right there, because they know.
But that's why us three brothers, right? This, not Pete, but still, because if you do it, Pete, they gonna be like, fuck. Whatever you do, Pete, if you help somebody, you in trouble. You can't help nobody get no money. White people might steal glasses in court. We need to figure that out right now. Put together a plan to help people trace it back at a small fee of 25%.
I think that's a smart business model, but I think that and just in my opinion, I think it's bullshit, because to be honest with you, I think they just need to give Black people, period. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all descendants of slaves. And no matter what, you got to think it's not just slavery. Why you got to stop it at slavery? You know, let's talk about the systemic racism. Let's talk about the draconian prison laws. Let's talk about the crack epidemic. It's a lot of shit they got to atone for.
There's a lot of stuff they have to atone for.
So I think that it should just be minorities, particularly Black people, African American. We know we wasn't fucking born here. I don't know that my great, I'm sure somebody in my bloodline was a slave, but I'm Black. So I wasn't born here in America. I got here, my people got here somehow.
Well, curiously, that almost passed. They almost said we're going to give any person that's African American outside of someone that came directly from Africa.
Right.
That was on the table, and it barely failed. It like barely failed. It was like 5-4 or something like that.
Yeah, because I get why. Because Barack could have got some of that money. Barack could have got that money.
But
how much money? You know, my thing is,
what does reparations look like? But now you got to talk about.
We got to start talking about how much money we talking about right now.
Yeah, but I don't think. But see, this is the thing. I don't think
how much money it is.
I don't think it should just be in money. You know what I mean? I think that it should be. You know, it should be pretty much whatever would advance the culture. I think if it's a free education, I mean, like the Native Americans got casinos. I think even Italian people got some reparations. Everybody done got reparations but us, right? But
tell us about those reparations.
Is that a home loan? Is it in the form of a home loan, a free education?
See, because then they gonna really get us.
What I think it should be a combination of, cash and several other considerations.
I agree.
Like, let's say my thing is this, because I'm gonna tell you this right now. If they come with a thing and say, okay, we're giving everybody over the age of 40, 100,000, if we're giving everybody this age 50,000, that's bullshit. That's right there. That's what I'm saying. My thing is this. I don't think this country can afford reparations, because my thing.
They can. No, they can't. Yes, they can.
Well, my thing is this.
They just proved that shit with COVID.
Right now with Ukraine. They just looked out for Ukraine. Them shits ain't got nothing to do with it.
They just proved that with COVID.
I think that every person in this country should be due no less than $2-3 million. No less than.
Every person?
Every Black person, a certain age. Now, my thing is this.
I don't know about that, because some people gonna misappropriate some shit, make it look real bad.
Listen, hear me out.
That's your right. That's your right to go get all the Cadillacs you want and all the gold chains. We just need to make sure we sell the Cadillacs.
I don't think they should be able to come back and tell us how to spend it. I think if the nigga down the street is dumb enough to go spend his money, let's say it winds up being $500,000 a person, right? You're going to see an influx of new vehicles on the road, and they're not dumb. They're doing this to thrive the economy, because they say, okay, we give Black folks some money. The economy is going to raise.
Coming right back. It's coming right back.
All the homies, you're going to go to the dealership.
Yeah. Boy, gold is going up. Cadillacs is going up. It's going to be. You know what? Niggas deserve to have it. You know what? I want to see a nigga just Gucci down. Feel me? Hat to the
side. See that anyway. I don't want to see that. I see that already. I don't want to see that shit. I want to see
it for them. I want to see niggas. You know what? One thing I loved about all of the loans and the EDDs,
the PPP loans and shit.
Yeah, it was nice to see niggas shine. You know what? I don't give a fuck with nobody say. You know how many niggas who I know never got money I thought to myself, like, God is good. Because everybody deserves the opportunity to ball. Yeah.
It's good until they put together that task force, that PPP task force.
Because I'm gonna tell you this what pissed me off about the PPP stuff.
I used to sell PCP.
See,
hold up, listen, Steele, I used to sell drugs. Everybody deserves a chance to ball. You know, even if you get in trouble, cool. But if you know what happens when you get a chance to ball, you really believe you could make it. Yeah, even if it's temporary,
I understand that, but you know, Glasses, that's short-sighted. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order to move the culture forward for real, motherfuckers got to get educated some way, shape, form, or fashion.
But that's what's up for me, people like me and you, right? Yeah. To open up these factories, create livable wages, and people can advance their children. It's up to us. But I would love to see niggas, feel me, experience prosperity. Like, I get it. They're not gonna understand the first time. You know, nobody understands money when you get it the first. Shit, when I first made my first, money on the streets. I didn't know when I first got my first record check. I didn't know,
I think we all
my
did
attorney
that.
told me you ain't had money till you had it the third time.
Oh
Then we
yeah,
coming
real
from the
talk.
black
And that's
Real
why
talk.
I think, and that's
Real
why
talk.
I really truly believe the way
Real
that
talk.
this should be done. Let's say it is a couple of $1 million over a certain age group. I think that money should probably be delivered and released over a time period. That way, people
I
don't
agree.
go out, they get a
I
chance to actually educate
Yeah.
themselves. I do think there should be some
I agree.
financial literacy involved in this.
I agree.
Okay, you're about to get $1 million because you see it in the NFL and NBA all the time of people that win the lottery. They come
I
into
agree.
a whole bunch of money, and then 3 years later, they're in worse shape than they were before they even ever got the money.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I got my first million at like 20, 25, 26. And I wasn't even really a materialistic dude. I mean, but I fucked it off, but not I didn't squander it off on like bullshit, but trying to do businesses and different things that I really wasn't prepared to do.
I fucked off $1 million.
I lost
I fucked off $1 million.
But I'm saying,
nevertheless, I lost it.
but I'm saying that's all a part of, like, it's the reason why we fuck it off, though. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to make up for all the times we didn't have something. So no class can teach you past that. You know what I mean? So
I disagree, because you have to think about it. Like a lot of the others, a lot of Jewish and the white communities, like think about their kids, right? They are already taught credit. They're already taught home ownership. They're already taught investing, so they already have those reference points. They're brought up like that. I didn't learn about credit until my late teens, early 20s. I was always about cash.
What they did. But remember what they did. Feel me? Again, it's different when poor people trying to teach poor people economics. You know what I mean? We're not talking about, they taught that in church.
Yeah, no, I'm saying we go get the information. Even poor is a state of mind. So what I'm saying is, again, I'm from the hood, right? And I transcended past that because I chose to go get the information. Not that, you see what I'm saying? I had to learn it, and then not only learn it, but I had to apply it too. You know what I'm saying? So
but I still think, right? And when you did that, right, you got a chance to experience it. I think this is how human beings work in general. I think few are responsible for the masses. I would love a world where everybody is responsible for themselves, right? But few are responsible for the masses. So it depends on what Court, Glasses, Steele, feel me, what we do for our communities. Few are responsible for the masses. And then once some prosperity is experienced, you could begin to teach your kids. It's hard. Like me and my boy Watch Sticks argue about this all the time. Somebody can't figure out how to eat dinner tomorrow. It's hard to talk to them about financial literacy. Like it's a nutritional meal that's not even allowing their brain to function. I was explaining this to Pete, like, it's things missing when your mom is on rock and you eating top ramen. You already malnutrition. It's hard to process information the same way. It's hard to read books when there's no lights. There's always those stories where somebody had a candle and was reading a book, but that is not most stories. So I just, like I said, I think nothing is like when you experience your first level of prosperity. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still a lesson to be learned, right, as far as economics goes. But I think when you experience prosperity, you see the world, you start to view the world like you're not trapped. So, yes, I do think if we got an influx of cash, we'd probably give it right back. But
I think that's part of it, though. But I'm saying that under the guise of getting that reparation. Yeah, of course. When you in the hood and motherfucker just trying to survive, you ain't thinking about all of that. But I'm saying if somebody in the hood now, like as you just said, has an influx of cash and resource, I think it's in order to say, okay, you have this. Here's a little bit to get you, get some food in your belly, whatever. But now you have you ain't starving no more. Now you can eat. But now that you're eating, you need to go. You need to go educate yourself.
Before we start celebrating,
it's not coming.
Listen, check this out.
We just hypothetically fucking around.
Reparations have been paid out to other groups in the past. The Federal Civil Liberties Act of 1988 granted reparations to Japanese Americans who were interned by the U.S. government in camps during World War II. The act gave each surviving victim an official apology and $20,000. Now, if they do that to me, if I get a check for $20,000 and a little letter that says, I apologize for enslaving your ancestors, I'm gonna shit in the box and put all that shit back in there, and I'm sending it back to
Well,
them.
I think their internment was like 20 some months.
Yeah, but still though, dog.
How long was it, Pete? I know you know this right up your alley.
It wasn't that long, but I think in a lot of cases they had their houses like taken and shit like that. So that was more so, I think, really with asset forfeiture than it was.
And it wasn't
time.
fair. Well, I guess because they gave it to him now, the value of your house, that probably wasn't fair value either.
It wasn't even supposed to be that. It was just largely supposed to be a hat tip, if we're going to be honest.
So let me ask you this. Would you be happy to get $20,000 court for the atrocities that this country has committed against our people?
No, that's an insult. I
think that would be an insult, dog. I don't even think you can look at those.
I would like to see them write the letter to say, I'm sorry. They ain't apologized one time in life. If they said, I'm sorry, I think I'd be like in disbelief. Like, this country is going to apologize to black people?
Yeah, but 20,000 would be an insult. Like I said, for me, it has to be bigger than slavery. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It has to be bigger than just
that. Was
you just start with slavery, just a couple 400 years of free labor.
That was
400 years later. Even if you start with that, what that check look like?
Yeah, we got, come on, man, we got Reaganomics. We have Jim Crow.
I'm saying before we get to there, what do those hours that was that 12 hours a day, 400 years?
Yeah,
probably about 300 days. Yeah, I don't think they gave nigga too many off days.
Well, see, you have to think about it in this way too.
Let me do the math. Hold on. Let me do the math. Hold on one second.
All right.
Let me do that math.
Well, while Glasses is doing that math, a lot of people are starting to self-police themselves. Like, they just had a New Jersey seminary in 2020 that put $27.6 million into a scholarship fund and fellowships for descendants of slaves, right? Because they realized that their history was flawed, right? I think, you have to go to people like Wells Fargo, B of A. All of those companies were founded during slavery. And they benefited from having slave labor and stuff. I think all of those people need to be held accountable and pay a certain amount of money into this fund. And that fund should be divided amongst every African-American person living in this country. Every last one of them. Because everyone is affected. And then that's just the beginning. Like you said, Court, when you talk about slavery, it's just not slavery. It's the systemic racism. Exactly. It's the lack of opportunities, lack of financial literacy, because that's a generational thing. Because me and you both from the Midwest originally, Court. How many generations of people do we see stand in the same Section 8 house? The grandmother lived in that house. The mom lives there now. Not a daughter lives there. It's just a system of poverty. It's poverty, bro.
And a lot of that comes because it's lack of education, lack of opportunity. Because if you think about it, even with my generation, I was made in the 70s, raised in the 80s, right? So if you think about it, like we, with the redlining and owning property back in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, owning a home was like having a credit card. Literally, middle class families could refinance their home, do upgrades, take family trips, send the kids to college, and all of that. But we weren't able to share in that. We couldn't own property, or it was made very, very difficult. So you have a lot of middle class people and lower middle class. They weren't able to go to college. It's a domino effect. It's a domino effect.
What number you come up with, G?
So this is what I figured out, right? I'm on the curve, right, Pete? I'm on the curve. So 12 hours a day, which I'm sure is more than that. 300 days a year. So that's if you got 65 days off. I'm sure it was more than that, right? 300 years. Slavery was a little bit longer than that too, but I'm just great on the curve. I'm actually counting down. Is 1,080,000 hours per person, right? So yeah, that's fair. That's a lot of hours. So the way I see it is like the IRS has like an interest. If you add Aryan interest to it, you know what I mean? It's $15.
Aryan interest.
You said Aryan interest.
That nigga said it in South Central, right?
$15.
15. It was only 5 initially or 3 initially. He was like, he now owes us $15 Aryan interest, motherfucker. So what that interest was, you feel me? I want their dessert for 15 years.
Yeah.
I want 15.
I think it has to be, but on some real shit though, I think that, you know, if this were to happen, man, it would have to be, you know, different things in place. You know, it can't just be a cash thing. It has to be an educational component, a healthcare component. You know what I'm saying? All these things so that
I just want
people need to
a
thrive.
cash component. I'm gonna tell you why I want a cash component. A component, Court. They gonna get us. You know how they do this. So just cash us out, and then me and you and Steele and Charlamagne and people like us could take care of our community.
That's cool, but I want more than that. What about healthcare, free healthcare? You know,
then we take it and we create our own economy of free healthcare because we're gonna do a better job. If we allow them to create some sense of economy, they're gonna fuck it up.
Oh,
man.
okay, so you on some Tulsa shit. So you thinking like
not as bad because I don't want to. I'm just saying that way I know it's right. If we
that's
do
that's not a bad idea.
We do it, it's gonna be right. If
you try to create your own ecosystem, I get it.
And I'm not. And again, it's not like I just, you know,
I got
I know how they get down. I know how they. So I want us. If it's financial literacy, we should teach it. Yeah, we know what it's like to have money and be brothers.
Whoever needs to do it, whoever does it, I think it's got to be the healthcare. It's got to be, you know what I'm saying, education, financial literacy. It's got to be the gamut. It's got to be the whole thing in order to move the culture forward.
There are 46.8 million black people in this country, right? 46.8 million black people in this country now. Let me ask you this, G. What if they said, okay, in Georgia, in Texas, in California, Oklahoma, wherever, right? Wherever there's a big, huge land mass, that a lot of available land, right? What if they said, you guys, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, right? And we're going to pay this money out over 5 years or whatever. And on top of that, we're going to give you guys land to be able to go, like almost like they did with the Indian people. What if they said, we're going to give you guys 1,000 acres in Atlanta, 1,000 acres in California, 1,000 acres this and that?
First off, like, so the Indian reparations, all my Indian partners, you know what I mean? They don't, like, I think people from the outside look at it like it's dope. Everybody that I talk to on the inside be like, man, it's some bullshit.
Oh, it's horrible.
So,
wow.
And that's what they all say to me. They be like, yo, it's some bullshit. It ain't right. So, I mean, but I do think they do the right thing within their community. And I think that's the catch. Like, so whatever it is.
It depends on the tribe.
But I'm
There's only a few tribes where that's true.
Tribes, right? And they all feel like, because I got a partner who get $5,000 a month just for being alive.
That's the exception.
I mean, just for being alive, right? Because he was part of one of the tribes that's earning, right? But I'm just saying, he like, even that is not worth it. I mean, it's components they feel is not just. So I realized, like, you know, we have to, if they gave us land, the reality is no matter what happens, this is not going to happen. We know this is not going to happen. But hypothetically, and what our responsibility should be is to make sure, you know, that we provide those components for our community, because if we don't, we know how they going to do it. So we have to provide it ourselves.
I agree. I'm curious, Peter. What's your take on it? I'm curious to see that other side.
You don't want to pay no reparations.
It depends on how it's executed and how it's calculated. You know,
you just said that the most whitest way possible. It depends on how it's executed. And
well, that's the truth. I mean,
what if they said, Pete? What if they said, because they was like, you have to pay an extra $200 a month in taxes?
I mean, they're gonna do that probably anyway, but
we know they're not gonna do it.
Well, no, they'll find a way for me to pay an extra $200 a month. I'm not going to you guys,
but they're not gonna do it. But I'm saying,
that's how it really ultimately is going to shake out. I mean, the thing is, you have to, you know, the parallel being.
Hold on, you interrupted Pete. Hold on, let me listen to Pete answer.
Peter, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Using the government as the parasite in the parallel, you can't have the parasite kill the host, you know? So if you, like Steele says, he wants to give out $92 trillion in a lump sum. That's the parasite killing the host. You're not even giving out $92 trillion at that point. You're giving out a small fraction of that because you've debased the currency so far that the value in what you're giving people is not even the same as it states on paper. So you have to be conscious of that. And when I say it depends on how you calculate it, it's, there's two senses. I mean, you could say, okay, well, we're going to try to calculate it based off of like a retribution standard, or based off of a modern day wages standard, or based off of whatever else. So I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. I think that the major.
So let me ask you one more question, Pete. And this is probably a question that could get you in trouble or make you look like a genius. You're a financial guy, right? You're into finances. What should Black people ask for when it comes to reparation? Like, what type of compensation? If it's not, because I agree with you from an economic standpoint of just currency, if you give away too much money, you devalue the currency.
Yeah, we're seeing that right now.
Sure.
I think the answer is really like some kind of whatever's the most like regenerable, take a step back and look at some sort of sectors or accesses. I mean, you could say, I mean, like to use the Native American example, they get pigeon shit money and some land, but they get the shittiest land you could possibly find that in any region that they could stick them on. We'll say, okay, well, all right, well, there's more federal land in the Western United States than there should ever otherwise be. I wouldn't have an issue with saying, okay, great. You can have autonomous land of a similar situation, and we're not going to provide a whole list of things on that land, but you can do whatever the fuck you want. We're not going to police it. If crime disseminates out from it, we'll police that. If you want to do whatever with energy, if somebody strikes oil on it, it's your oil. If you guys want to
build a casino,
do whatever the fuck you want. If you guys want to grow poppy flowers and grind heroin, do whatever you want to do.
Do some fracking.
Yeah, whatever. If you I swear to God, if you guys want to create cocaine greenhouses, then do it. And people can come in with their passport, white people from the U.S., and go, I want to snort a line. And you could say, great, we got a greenhouse for coca leaf back in the back. Go charge your nose up or whatever the fuck you guys want to do. But something where you can have a regenerable, revenue system opposed to a one-off that expires.
A whale of resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like Morongo Casino.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not against that because that's what I was saying to court. Like, that's what I was saying to Brother Court. I'm saying, like, I want us to be responsible. I don't want them because obviously we know how they get down. For me, if we have to do it, God willing, we do right by our people. That's our responsibility. That's what I was saying.
Imagine if you guys opened Amsterdam and you guys got a 700 square mile thing. You have free gambling, free drugs, and free hoes. You'll be fine.
Like on the wire, we can call it Hamsterdam.
Yeah, and I think
you'd be fine.
And I think people will pay a premium to enter that space.
They do that, man. Right now, they go to Morongo, they go to Pachanga. Man, they go up there and spend all that money.
If we created a space like that, man, it'd be flooded with so many white folks, it ain't even funny.
They be like, we up in that thing. They might bomb that motherfucker.
We tax ourselves.
They might bomb that motherfucker again, like Black Wall Street, Tulsa. They might just fuck that. They get too much money.
One thing,
around put Vegas out of business. Couple niggas go, Jay-Z them gonna come up with their own Vegas.
Let me ask you guys this, fellas. Now, in lieu of the compensation, in lieu of monetary compensation from that thing, what if someone said, okay, we're going to pardon you from paying taxes for the rest of your life and give you 2 acres of land each person? I would take that in a heartbeat if they said you don't have to pay taxes anymore.
90% of Black people.
Huh?
Deal.
That screws 90% of Black people.
I agree, but it's a deal for me.
But that would be good. I would be cool with that because I'd
be cool with that. No taxes.
No taxes and 2 acres of land anywhere I wanted that, man, that would be cool.
Ain't gonna be anywhere you want though. They ain't for
half of Americans don't even pay a net tax. And if you don't have any money, you don't pay any taxes. And if you don't have any money, 2 acres of land isn't worth dick because you can't afford to put any equipment on it.
What would
See,
they
I
say?
think we
You
should
and
nominate
everybody
Peter.
I agree with Peter on that one.
I think we should nominate Peter as a chairman of reparations.
I agree with Peter on that one.
Peter gonna figure out how to screw these white folks because he just can't help it.
And
He
plus
got to get the
Peter,
better of the deal.
and plus Peter is low key one of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's the ultimate.
No. Peter is a real white man that's not scared to be a white man.
I can't carry too much pressure.
Peter's a white man. What I love about Peter don't shuck and jive for us. He don't try to act like he down. He don't try to change his name. He ain't no wigger. Peter is a white man that's like, this is what it is on the spectrum. On the spectrum,
it's hard to put a cool spin on a name like Peter.
Because he said most Americans don't pay taxes.
You could be P-Funk, P-Dog, or you could be all kinds of shit.
You know what I mean? Hold up, you the real white Pete, not like you Pete for real.
I was white Pete before white Pete.
Yeah, before Pete, right? Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like honestly, I think the ideal package will be a combination of land, money, and some tax breaks, some tax incentives.
You know what? I think we need to sit and have another podcast with Peter and let him come up with a financial plan that will create a well of resources for us. I think we need to have Peter come up with this and do another podcast and see what Pete come up with. And we discuss it and come to a conclusion right here on the Gangster Chronicles. And then we figure it out and work it out and then submit the package. And we'll give Peter like 0.5% of whatever we negotiate.
Yeah.
If it's just California, I can solve the problem right now.
Hold up. No, we got to do a whole nother podcast. You got to think about this. So we do another podcast.
I already did.
And come.
Well, what is it? What is it, Pete?
California has, as a state, two major crises. It has a lack of energy. It has a lack of water. The EPA doesn't want to grant, the necessary rights to be able to get those things. At the very least, say, okay, we're going to provide either exclusive contracts to Black people on exemption or total revenue from de-water salinization plants, where you could basically irrigate the entire Central Valley from desalinized water from the Pacific Ocean, and you can get 100% of the money from that if you're a Californian and you're Black, or something similar along with fossil fuels, and get per kilowatt hour to Black Americans for that. And then it helps the state of California, and then you guys get all the proceeds.
Sound like that's what happened in Atlanta. I'm not mad at that.
I don't know about Atlanta.
That quick.
But that's what happened in Atlanta. They contracted a lot of the business. They had to contract a lot of, like, it was a certain business. Killer Mike was telling me about it, and it was dope. And they contracted a lot of Black contractors who hired Black people, and that created that economy for Black folks. I like that, Pete. We're going to get into that deeper.
Yes, dope.
That's what we should have done. We should have called Killer Mike and had him come on this podcast right here to talk about that, because I'm pretty sure.
We should do this next podcast about what Peter is saying and have Killer Mike on that podcast to talk about this, because Killer Mike understands how to make that work. He studied how they did that in Atlanta, and we could really start that and propose that.
For sure. For sure.
Well, this is how it is, because I know at last count, we had a bunch of subscribers on here still. So that's how stuff gets into power. When you start really thinking of a plan, you can submit that plan, because it seems like these people on this panel now, this little tribunal that they put together for this, it's a whole bunch of old ass fucking people that have no clue on what they're talking about.
I mean, that's why they put them together, so they could have no idea and it gets nowhere. But if we have Pete and we have a good idea and a good plan,
we're still just four old guys don't know what we're talking about. We're getting up there.
I don't know who y'all throwing that word old around. I don't feel like an old man.
Yeah,
I may be one.
It's always the oldest guy in the room that says that, you know?
I think I'm the second oldest on here, so shit.
I feel like I've been alive for 1,000 years.
Same.